Okay, welcome everyone. Um, Thank you so much for joining today. Let me close the subtitles. Okay, so I'm equally excited to talk about this topic, Sanatana Dharma. I look at it as these roots that just intertwine and entangle, and it just connects to a tree. So I thought this was a good picture to understand a little bit about how Sanatan Dharma is and how to look at it in the modern way. So just a quick disclaimer before I begin. I'm not a learned expert in our scriptures in any way, okay? I am simply a curious student seeking to understand the wisdom and how it applies to everyday life. So, through this journey, I hope to share some of the insights that I have and the deeper understanding of some of the practices many of us already follow, and some myths that are there around things. And I look forward to learning and sharing with all of you. So I have, I know this is. Did you guys get a chance to look at the questionnaire that I sent, the worksheet?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully that kind of helped you set the tone of what all was going to happen. So let me just quickly start with a invocation. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So the first, let's just talk about what comes to mind when you hear about Sanatan Dharma. So there's no right or wrong answers. So just unmute yourself, or a couple of you share what you think. What have you heard, or what do you think it is? What is Sanatan Dharma?
A way of life.
Yeah, it is a way of life. Yes.
I think Sanatan means eternal.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what I understand, Sonia.
Yeah.
And Dharma is, an ethical way of living.
Mm-hmm.
So an eternally ethical way of living life.
Yep.
I don't think it's necessarily religious in my mind. It's more probably spiritual and more of a guidance to live life in the right manner.
Yep.
You know,
Exactly.
my interpretation is similar to Neeta's, that it is more a universal way of living,
Mm-hmm.
decisions that we make on a day-to-day basis in the framework of our culture, which
Mm-hmm.
is what we have learned about the way of life in a Hindu household.
Mm-hmm.
And the ability to see the interconnectedness between all of us. That to me is
Absolutely.
an important piece of how I interpret Sanatan Dharma.
Totally. All of you are absolutely right. So, yes, Sanatana means eternal. Dharma means duty, essence, purpose. So I have all these sugary things in front of us. That is our seafood diet for the day. How the reason I brought this up is, what is the one thing that's common in all of this?
Sugar?
Yes, sugar, right? So the essence of sugar is sweetness. The essence of lime or lemon is tartness. The essence of salt is whatever the word for salt is, you know. So Sanatan Dharma, as Meena was also saying, it is how you are beyond your material existence. That essence, that when you take everything away, when you peel all the onion layers, what is left? That is the essence. You can take all of this, and then what is, you can have different tastes, but what is left ultimately is the sugar, um, the taste of sugar. So being authentic to your purpose, and not imitating others, because Sanatan Dharma is is unique for everybody. The dharma is unique for each and every one of us. There are different kinds of dharmas. There is Manushya Dharma, which is human, as human, what is our duty as a human, forgiveness, truthfulness, ahimsa. Then comes Swadharma, which is our personal dharma, uh, which is role based, and it's based on our skills and our responsibilities. Then comes the Adhyatmika Dharma, which is awareness, that's going beyond the five dhatus, beyond the body to the soul. And then there's something called Paradharma, which is somebody else's dharma. And we always have a saying in the West that fake it till you make it. A lot of times, Paradharma or trying to imitate other people, if that isn't your true essence, it creates confusion, it creates stress, it creates fulfillment, and it creates lack of fulfillment among that. So understanding what your essence is, and many of you are following what your dharma is. You probably don't know it, and even you may not be able to say it in your own words what it is, but you understand what gets you going and what excites you. And it's not the money, it's not the work itself, it's just something beyond it. So hopefully you understand a little bit about what Sanatana Dharma, the word, means. And any questions here before we continue?
Sonia, can you summarize the different kinds of dharmas? Just if you can just mention the names again.
Yeah, Manushya Dharma, Swadharma, Adhyatmik Dharma, and Adhyatmik means internal, I think. And then Paradharma means other people's dharma.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So just quickly, a little bit about my journey. I don't even know where to begin, but there was a point in time when I realized that, life has a lot of dualities, happiness, sadness, anger, frustration, and then joy. And then, that joy doesn't last very long. And then I was taking care of our mother, and my mom was sick. And somewhere along there, I started questioning, like, what the heck is going on? I mean, what is the purpose of our life? What is the purpose of my life? And somewhere along the way, because thanks to COVID, we were all working from home, and I started going for the Gita Press Gita classes, and listened to some podcasts. And I was just blown away at the messages that were that were there in Bhagavad Gita, and was very, very, very excited actually to understand that this is not just me; it is the whole world is going through what I'm going through. I'm not the only one. We feel like we are the only one suffering once we go through something, but understanding that the intensity may be different from people to people, but the suffering is everywhere. Everybody suffers at some point. There's nobody in this world that is happy all the time, 24/7. They may pretend on social media that they are, but nobody really is happy all the time. And that's something that I realized very quickly. And, that helped me a lot. So one thing that I wanted to also is, that I have always, we look at GPS and we we put in the place that we want to go. And it's called Global Positioning System, but there's also another GPS, which is God Positioning System. So I started looking at it in that way, started focusing more on the spiritual aspect of it, not the religious aspect of it, the spiritual aspect of it. And something happens, you try to understand why it's happening rather than just blaming somebody else for it. So Sanatana Dharma it's a library, like everybody knows. There is not one single book that we can say that completes everything that we ever need to know about our scriptures. It's so it's a timeless guidance. It just you just start with whatever you are interested in, whatever you understand, um, and then go from there. So there's four Vedas, 108 Upanishads, 18 Puranas, Itihas. Um, Interestingly, the word Itihas is so it was. This happened. So when we call Mahabharat and Ramayana Itihas, it the word means, it doesn't mean history. It means so it happened. This is how it happened, and it's like a narration of how things were, what occurred. And then Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita was spoken on the battlefield, as pretty much everybody knows. And to me, Bhagavad Gita is a reminder that we are in constant battle, whether it is internally in our mind or it is physically with someone else at work. You are um, have a conflict about something, or you're just trying to do your work, and to try to get along with other people. People have different interests. So Bhagavad Gita is, um, to me, was like a perfect example of how our life is day to day, and this applicable to everybody. Everybody is fighting some kind of battle all the time. Sometimes it's what shows to watch, and the house, that can be a challenge sometimes. So it just goes on and on and on. Upanishads, interestingly, means to sit down, sit down near the teacher, reflecting with the teacher, and a transmission of knowledge from the guru to the student. That's what Upanishads actually mean. So that's a little bit about that. Now, as I spoke about Gita, so there are some verses in this Bhagavad Gita. Every verse actually is extremely impactful, and 700 verses. It is packed. Each and every word of Bhagavad Gita is so deep that you could spend hours contemplating on every word of Bhagavad Gita. But I will focus on five of them actually. So the first one is Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 7, and these are, like Meena was saying, the message is universal. It has nothing, there is no word Hindu anywhere in our scriptures at all. It was, as we all know, it was brought on by colonialism and other things, but everything that is taught in our scriptures, according to me, is universal to everybody. It doesn't apply to a particular group of people or a particular class of people. It just applies to who you are and how do you move on from where you are. So the first one is, the shloka is, there is nothing higher than myself, O Arjuna, says Krishna. Everything rests in me like beads on a string. So if you can imagine the divine being the thread and we are all beads on a string, I mean, how powerful is that? That he holds us all. He holds everything. And when we say beings, we don't just mean human beings. We mean ants, and every little being in this universe is held by him and rests in him. And to me, that shows how much love and care is universal. It's not meant to be a certain group of people that say, they have access to God and others don't. It is universal. The next one is from chapter 12. It is in verse 13 and 14, where Krishna talks about the different qualities of a devotee. And he uses this word adveshta. Adveshta means free from malice. In our everyday life, we say we love blah, 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 but there's always a but. I can't stand this, or I hate this, or, I love vegetables, but I hate Karela. I love, the hate is such a word that's thrown around in this last 15, 20 years that I found it very interesting that Krishna doesn't say love everybody, or God, he doesn't say love everybody. He says, don't hate anyone. And to me, that is extremely powerful. Be free from malice, be free from hatred. The third one is, I am seated in the hearts of all living beings. And from me comes memory, knowledge, as well as forgetfulness. This is chapter 15, verse 15. This, to me, it means that remembering something at the right time is extremely important. Having the right knowledge is extremely important. And forgetfulness also is important. When we forget something, or when something bad happens and you've forgotten it, we have to appreciate the fact that we have the muscle to forget. We are able to forget things. We just don't hang on to things. Otherwise, life would be impossible for us to live if we kept remembering every little thing that happened to us. So, in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says that he lives in the heart of every living being, and memory, knowledge, and forgetfulness comes from all of this, for everyone, for all of us. And then this one is very interesting. Chapter 2, verse 62. So while contemplating on the objects of success of senses, there are 5 senses. So when contemplating on the objects of all the different senses, so there are objects, that the nose can gather, the touch, the hearing, the taste, and one develops attachment to them. So from attachment comes desire, and from desire arises anger. So it doesn't mean that we should not enjoy things. We should definitely enjoy things that are given to us. But when we start having attachments to them, or when we say, next time I want to try something else because that one is better, then every time we say something that attaches us to some other desire, and then we don't get that, then we may start getting anger. We may start getting anxiety and fearfulness when we don't get it, especially in relationships, when we've developed attachment to people, and then they are not the way we thought they were. Somebody is waiting to be admitted. Did we admit everybody? Okay.
Yes, I'm doing it.
Okay. Thank you. Hopefully, I'm not going too fast.
There is one person whose name is not at all visible. It just says iPhone. I don't know who it is.
There are a couple of them. I think that's fine.
I see everybody else's name except one person where it says iPhone.
iPhone.
Yeah.
Is it me?
No, Purnima, I see yours.
Okay.
It says Purnima Hospatan. Yeah. It's the very last one at the bottom. I don't know. I see Vani, Uma, Swati. I see my mom, Sheila. She's there. Sangeeta, Rupali, Gayatri, Geeta, Shruti Gunavante. There's Deepika, Ashwini, Anjani, who we cannot see. They are shy to turn their camera on, but there's one person I wish they would identify themselves so we know. We just know who it is.
Somebody whose name we have not called yet.
Yes. You could unmute that person as a administrator, and that person can speak.
Hey, Neeta, is it me? Vandana.
Oh, no, it's Vandana.
Mine
Okay,
is
no, not you,
iPhone.
Vandana. I see a VANB.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
That's you, Vandana. Yeah. No, the person next to you, I see an iPhone with no. No, Swati, we see you.
There is a Zoom
That's
user
okay,
and an iPhone person.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's all right.
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh, I think that person dropped off.
They didn't want to identify themselves.
So hopefully some of this is making sense.
It is. Yeah.
When we go to one example that I remember very, very clearly is when we go to malls and we go to buy one thing, and then as we're buying one thing, we're window shopping for 10 other things. And then we come home with more desires. So we come home with one item and then 5 other desires that we may want to go back in the future for. And the fact that we want something, sometimes that also brings up anxiety, and then we start thinking about how I can get it, how I can afford it, and things like that. So desire is the basis of all other emotions. Basically, that's what Bhagwan is trying to say here. And then let's see, the next one is chapter 4, verse 18. Action and inaction. This one is also extremely interesting because it talks about, what is action and what is inaction. To us, normally action is when we're not doing anything. But physically, we may not be doing anything, but mentally, our mind is just going 1,000 miles an hour. So action and inaction, are two sides of a coin, and a person who is truly wise knows that the action is truly in inaction, and the inaction is in action. So when you are centered and you know exactly what your action is versus you're physically not doing anything, but mentally your thoughts are like running around in your head and all that. So that is a form of action. Actually, it's not inaction as we may be thinking. So, and a wise person knows that just because you are doing things doesn't mean that you are in action, doing something in action, but rather that what are you thinking? What is your intention? Doing it because it needs to be done, doing it for the purpose that it needs to be done. So that knowing why you do what you do, that is what action truly is and inaction truly is. So any questions there? I know I did a lot, but I wanted to share a little bit about what Bhagavad Gita has taught me. There's a lot. I could just go on and on with all of these different verses. There's so many verses in there that are just very, very beautiful. But I didn't want to take up the whole hour with this. So let me know. Put some questions in the chat if you have any questions. So basically, for the last one, it means that the body can still be busy, mind can still be busy, but you're not performing anything. You're not accomplishing anything. Whereas when you're not doing anything, you could be accomplishing a lot more. This one I thought was wanted to put in here because we all heard heard Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam when the G20 was going on, and Vasudha means Mother Earth, and Eva means indeed. So Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and the whole shloka is this particular thing that when we start differentiating between people and we say this person's a relative, that person's a stranger, this is my child, that is somebody else's child, or this is that is their job, that's not my job, or whatever it is. When we start doing this, and we all do it, even I do it, them and ours, it relates to somebody who's small-minded, because ultimately the entire world is a family. So you have to, there's a saying, live big, think big. So when you start thinking of the whole world as your family, you start having respect and responsibility towards everyone versus certain beings or certain people. Any questions so far before we go on to the basic concepts?
Sonia, I have a question.
Yeah, hi. Yes, hi.
Rupali here.
Yeah, hi,
So,
Rupali.
yeah, so we are talking about uh, teachings from the Gita, and we are talking about other teachings. What my question was that are we still talking about Sanatana Dharma concepts or concepts related to Hinduism? And
So this,
is there like a point where it separated? You spoke about colonism, but where did it really uh, split, or the understanding became slightly different as we understand it today?
so I think when the Britishers came, like almost 500 years ago, 400 years ago, is when um, they they brought their own religion to our country, and at that time they sort of, because the word Hindu by then had already, the Persians had brought the word Hindu in. Um, whatever we were practicing became Hinduism, in my understanding. Whatever we were practicing became Hinduism, and before that, there was no word Hinduism that existed. It's just a multifaceted um, culture that you absorb what works for you and you take in what works for you versus this particular mold that only you have to only do this, you have to only do that. So that is where there was that break of the teachings of Sanatana Dharma. And Sanatana Dharma includes the Puranas, includes the Upanishads, includes the Vedas, includes the um, the Itihasas, as I mentioned. It includes the Bhagavad Gita, which was in Mahabharat. So it includes all of that. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, kind of. Like, I understand that the whole of Sanatan Dharma started
Mm-hmm.
being called Hinduism
Mm-hmm.
at some point, maybe because I don't know if Sanatan concepts are really followed within other uh, religions or other sects as well. But we can move on.
Yeah. I think they are. They just, like, for me, when I see people now, I see the similarities between me and them, even though they may be practicing something else. Devotion is devotion. You could be devotee of Jesus. You could be devotee of so many different gods within our culture. You could be, going to the mosque. But a devotee is still a devotee. Bhakti is still bhakti, right? There is no there is no religion that says that bhakti is only our bhakti. It's not anybody else's bhakti. So that's how Sanatan Dharma means that the principles apply to everybody. Like gravity applies to everybody, right? Gravity is not does not belong to a certain group of people. Whether we believe it or not, whether we think gravity happens or not, that's a different story. But gravity is there. It holds us all. So that's the way I look at it. Maybe hopefully that will help. That helps you.
Yeah, thank you, Sonia.
So
Yeah.
the way I think of Sonia, so is it like a big old umbrella, and then there's religion, spirituality, whatever, but the umbrella is Sanatan.
Yeah, the umbrella, the teachings, when I say practices, I don't mean rituals, right? Are the teachings are all universal. They are universal. Like the air we breathe is universal. I mean, if you look at nature, nature teaches you how to be universal. Everything in nature is really universal. It's humans that break it up and say, this is mine, this is yours, this is theirs. Otherwise, it's all universal.
Sonia,
Yeah.
can I put in some few words?
Yeah, please. Yes.
Because you and I have been discussing a little bit some things, making me
please. Yes.
clarity in me too, because it is pretty confusing. But at the same time, for me, what I think is Sanatana, because we have been discussing it, it's about those margas, the way to reach your, destination. And destination for all of us mostly is, as you said, you are going to come to it later on. It'll be moksha, or it'll be, unity with the divine. And I think that's when the margas, or the way which you'll be discussing,
The path.
which will take us to through via all these Upanishads and Gita, Bhagavad Gita, and so these are the teachings we learn, and through that we ultimately reach our, everybody wants to be at that point or regions. So I think that's what you're trying to explain.
Yes.
And if I may, again, I am a visual learner, so I think visually. So I think in the same concepts, that umbrella structure. And so Sanatan Dharma to me means it's an umbrella structure. It's universal. So multiple religions fall into it, ways of life fall into it. Practices may be different, but they fall into it. And the ribs of the umbrella are the key books, Vedas, Upanishads. That's how I have interpreted it. And that's like connecting the whole. It's helping you to interpret. It gives you form. It gives you a function. It teaches you how to. And the fabric of that umbrella is how we practice what we learn. And like you talked about gravity, things that connect one rib of the umbrella to another. So it's a matter of not only study, but also practice. And I think I have not been fortunate to grow up in a very religious household, but a spiritual one. And these were some of the things you seek as you grow older, because then the connections become a little bit more, you become a little bit more aware of the connection. So, I mean, that's how I have interpreted it so far. So everything
very nicely
resounds,
put.
whatever y'all are talking resounds with me. It's kind of affirming to some of the concepts I have explored.
Yeah, very well put. Yes, it's like an umbrella, and I didn't grow up in a spiritual household either. I mean, yes, religious, yes. We used to do the pujas and all that stuff, but not the why something is done, or what is my purpose here, why am I here. And none of the big existential questions were answered when I was growing up.
Yeah, because that took too much talking and too much effort.
Yeah, and people didn't know that, I mean, you have to look at it. If something is wiped out for 200-300 years, that is like a couple of generations that, so we were rewired differently by the time we were growing up. Our parents were rewired in a different way, and there were still some families that were doing this. But yeah, we're just learning all together. I love everybody's input on all of this. So, I went recently to a lecture of Vedanta, Swami Sarvapriyananda, and where he talked about where he talked about Martin Seligman. You can't see it. What makes for a good and fulfilled human life? So Martin Seligman, he's a American psychologist. Have you guys heard of him? Anybody heard of him? And
Seligman, did you say?
Seligman, Seligman. Maybe it's pronounced Seligman, but Seligman, S. He's a founder of positive psychology. And, many of us, spend our lives asking, like questions. It's like, what makes for a good, fulfilled human life? What is that? So modern psychology, Martin Seligman, through his work, had this formula that happiness is pleasure plus engagement plus meaning. So when we look at it through the lenses of our teachings, like Sangeeta was saying, our 4 aims of life, which we will talk about in a minute, Pleasure aligns with, so we have kama, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Those are our four purusharthas, okay? Dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So Martin Seligman's happiness formula, pleasure is like kama, where you're enjoying your life, relationships, beauty, experiences, and things that bring us joy. These experiences are important for all of us. But pleasure just comes and goes. What excites us today no longer excites us tomorrow. Then comes engagement. So people can find happiness in pleasure, but that is very, very, minute. It comes and goes. It's very temporary. Then comes engagement. Engagement aligns closely with artha, which is the pursuit of achievement, capabilities, and meaningful work. When we, and I know all of you can relate to this, when we're fully immersed in our strengths and when we're contributing to something good, we have a sense of accomplishment that drives us, and that is artha, or engagement. So you can get more happiness from engagement than you can out of pleasure. Meaning means like dharma, what is the purpose? Living with our values, our responsibilities, and higher purpose. Asking, like what dharma doesn't simply ask, what do I want, but also what is the right thing to do, and how can I contribute to something larger than myself? That is dharma. So these are the four purusharthas. Okay, so Martin Seligman got the three of them right, but our fourth one is moksha, which is freedom. So what does freedom mean? Freedom, moksha to us means, like when you die, you attain moksha, but really moksha is freedom. Freedom is understanding that even pleasure, achievements, and meaning have limits. They can enrich our lives, but they cannot completely free us from suffering, because each of these come with a certain level of suffering. So freedom comes only when we begin to rise above these attachments, expectations, dualities of success, failure, gain, loss, praise, criticism. And then moksha points to a freedom from suffering, a freedom from attachment, where you are growing in self-knowledge and you realize that your true nature is above all the three, dharma, artha, kama. And once you realize that you are more than any of these, and these don't define you, or these don't make you happy, make you sad, that's when you get true freedom. And that's when you become truly happy. We have heard Sat Chit Anand, right? Sat is the ever unchanging. Chit is the pure consciousness, and Anand is the infinite bliss that is talked about in the word Sat Chit Anand. So how do you attain that? It is through not identifying with any of these pleasure, engagement, meaning doing what is required to do, but not getting caught up in it, so that you are noticing the dualities of I'm excited one day and then not so excited the next day. I'm happy one day and I'm not happy one day. So to enjoy life through kama, to contribute through artha, and through dharma, ultimately you attain the true happiness when you are free from the attachments, and that's when you have the true moksha, or the freedom and enjoyment of something that's beyond any material thing that can possibly give you. So that is a little bit about how the teachings that are taught in today modern psychology are there in our scriptures. It's there in our teachings. And when I say our, I don't mean Hindu. I mean, it is a universal book. Anybody can read it. It doesn't talk about religion. So it talks about something that we all do. This is something that all humans do. we have earning, we have enjoyment, we have the right living. So all of this stuff that I talk about, it's all beyond the religion aspect of it. Okay, so I'll quickly go over the gunas. Have you heard of gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas gunas? Anybody? No, you've not heard of it.
Yes.
You've
Yes.
heard of it?
I
You've
have.
heard of it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I wanted to, gunas is qualities that are present in everyone. Sattva means clarity, calm, wisdom. Rajas means, excitement, activity, ambition, restlessness. Tamas means inertia, confusion, ignorance, laziness. And the chapter 14 talks about all these different gunas and how they relate to humans. Sometimes, we are dominated by sattva. Sometimes we are dominated by rajas. Sometimes we are dominated by tamas. So these are like dynamic energies that are constantly within us all day long. And the visual that I could think of was this one right here. Do you see the screen also? How about now?
Yes.
Is this better?
No, I can't see your shared screen.
Yeah, I can see it.
Well, we
I
can see.
can I can see it. Yeah.
You can see it?
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, I can see.
Okay. So if you look at sattva, rajas, and tamas as the colors white, red, and black, the combinations of these three colors is what basically our whole interactions, our life is made of. Is when you feel pious and when you feel like connected to something higher than yourself, you are in sattva guna. And then when you are in that mode of work, most of the time morning is sattva guna, early morning is sattva guna. When we are at work, mostly we have rajas combination. Because we are at work, it's competitive. You have to show your work, and then we come home, and the evening is a little bit of tamas because you are you're coming back home, and you're just relaxing and maybe watching some TV or going for a walk or something like that, but listening to some music. So most of the time, the way they say that is the early morning is sattva. During the daytime, which we normally work, is rajas, and then evening is tamas. But we're never just red, white, and black. We're a combination of all this. So this is mostly how we are. We have a combination of all this. So here it talks about when you are mostly 80% sattva, or you are mostly rajas when you have this sattvic, when you have this combination. When you are 60% or 70% rajasic, then you are in an area where you're successfully as a leader, you're successful, or as an employee, you're successful, you're contributing. It also can mean that you have, you're driven, and sometimes with that comes anxiety and frustration and things like that. And then tamas is procrastination and lack of motivation, confusion, and so tamas is also important because it helps us sleep. It helps us disconnect from everything. It helps us get to sleep. Sattva helps us see clearly, and rajas helps us work. So each of these are important. They are like colors on a canvas, and we are the canvas. We are different from the canvas. We are just like when you're watching TV, you see a picture, but the picture doesn't get stuck on the screen. As soon as the screen changes, the picture changes, it's not stuck on the screen. So that's who we are. We are like an empty blank canvas, and these are the colors that show up, and this is how we show up for relationships, show up for work, show up even for ourselves, for the most part. And that's why people say morning meditation is good. Early morning, when you start your meditation, it starts your day more balanced. If you listen to some good soothing music in the morning before you go to work, you're more balanced. Versus the earlier you start your, for me personally, I used to listen to radio station, I don't even remember the names of the radio station now, but I would listen to it on my way to work, and then I noticed that based on the songs, my mood would change. I'd be happy or I would be sad, and be like, this is ridiculous. Nothing has really even happened to me, and I'm sad. So then I stopped listening to all those things because I realized that it was changing how I was feeling internally, and that wasn't a very good feeling for me. So, can you guys relate to this a little bit?
Yes, very much so.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like the company you keep, Sonia.
Mm-hmm.
You keep good company, you might feel positive, great, but if there's somebody that's constantly telling, giving you negative feedback, you're a worse version of yourself by the end of the day. So,
Yeah.
and you may not have done anything different about your work. It's just the person you spent your day with, or
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And actually, the chapter 14 is all about gunas for Bhagavad Gita, and Bhagwan says to Arjuna that you should be above these three gunas. Actually, you shouldn't even be sattvic. You should be above all of them. So um, you're not touched by any of this stuff, because we are still touched by, like, we like people who are good. We we try to stay away from people that are red, because it could be conflict or something like that. But I think that at least understanding what your what your what your makeup is for that morning, or when you're feeling something, you just try to put a little temperature gauge to say, okay, why am I feeling like this? That's probably because that's what I do. I mean, when I'm, especially for rajas, when I get a little too excited and I'm ready to have a little battle with somebody, I'm like, okay, Sonia, back up. This is not something that you should just see where you are, and who you're going to talk to, and you have to try to regulate yourself, and having awareness comes from all of that.
Yeah, and another point I feel
Mm.
is also about, especially about Konkanis. It's about food also. When we talk like how to acquire these things, we talk about tamasic food, rajasic food, and sattvic food. So
Mm.
Konkani food is mostly sattvic. I feel we never use onions, garlics. So in our culture, we've learned these things, like these, dharmic whatever, or our this, and try to follow or try to achieve it by not only thoughts but by food or by our actions, to acquire the tamasic guna or rajasic guna or the sattvic guna. Because I
Yeah.
find Konkani food is very sattvic.
Yes, yes, very true. I mean, now, now there's onions and all that we put, but yeah, the original food is very sattvic. And yeah, I didn't even go into food, but yes, most of the processed food is all tamasic food.
Alcohol is tamasic, and
Alcohol is
yeah.
tamasic. A lot of
Hey,
processed
but
food.
alcohol puts you to sleep, right? So should be.
That's
It's
why
It's
just
na
tamasic.
tamasic na
very
That's why
tamasic.
it's
It makes you procrastinate for sure.
it puts you,
Yes.
it
It
makes you
helps.
fight, it makes you aggressive. So all that are tamasic gunas,
It brings out what you are trying to hide.
Yeah.
I think one more thing happened was most like our ancestors were all Brahmins, and food was also related to Varnas. Like
It's
Kshatriyas
coming up.
ate
It's coming
more
up.
meat, and
It's all
Yeah.
um,
because of the umbrella again. The umbrella is connected to each.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
in
this
it,
is
Tamasic
yeah.
food really helped him being a warrior.
Sonia, I have a
Ye-
question.
Huh, yes, Gauri.
You said in one of the chapters, Bhagwan says, rise above, don't identify with any of these
Gunas.
gunas, right?
Yeah.
So,
Uh-huh.
what would that look like? Can you tell me? Because I'm curious. We all have these in us, and it's kind of so dynamic.
Yeah. So the I transcending the three gunas means that none of these affect you. You are, like you are sattvic, but sattvic to the next level where um, even when you are associated with, or you have any kind of rajasic energy or tamasic energy around you, it will not affect you at all. Even nothing affects you. You have to be, you are because as a soul you are separate from all of this stuff. Like I was saying, you're a canvas, you're a blank canvas, and these colors are something you place on the canvas. Before that you are all blank. There is no canvas, so you have to you are ever blissful, ever at peace. um, you never you never associate with the ups and downs of life at all.
Sort of.
That's the way I look at it.
Oh, okay, okay. So, sort of objective equanimity
Yes, equanimity.
to be able to get a meta view of who you are and then act according. Like, for
Yeah.
example, what you said, right? If you feel very angry and aggressive or someday, you check on where that aggression is and
Hmm.
then decide whether you want to go ahead with it or not. Sort of a thing.
Yeah, yeah. And these things are important, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, it is important to be rajasic at times,
that's
right?
right.
It
Yeah,
is important to be tamasic at times.
yeah,
All these have value, but doing things when they are required to, not letting them do things to you,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Got it, got it.
which is what most of the time happens to us. Is like by
Yeah,
the time you've
they
already said
control
something
us.
and you're like, oh my God, what did I just say?
Yeah,
I shouldn't have said that, right?
yeah.
So
Not letting them control you, but you having
you having control of them.
you be the driver, have the
Yep,
wheel of
yep,
that.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so now on to was that Rupali that was talking about the Varnas? So, I just wanted to touch upon the different Varnas in our society. This again is something that has been so misconstrued. And the way I look at it, I was trying to think of an analogy that, like Brahmins are people who have wisdom, knowledge, guidance. They are leaders of thought. Kshatriyas are people uh, who protect, who have courage. They are leaders, protectors of society. Vaishyas are people in trade. They are the providers of our resources, and Shudras are people that are in the service industry, builders of society. They are there. They have a lot of dedication. I am, I think, a Shudra. Because I work a 9 to 5 job. I'm dedicated to what I do. Um, I'm very passionate about what I do. So there's a little bit of Kshatriya in there too. So, and because I am trying to learn and a little bit about my higher purpose, there's a little bit of Brahmana in me too. So the way I look at these four varnas is very different from the way that society tells us that we are born in a certain. So if I'm born in a family of doctors, does that automatically make me a doctor?
No,
No. If I'm born as a astronaut, does that automatically make me an astronaut? No, right? So if I'm born as a Brahmin in a Brahmin family or a Kshatriya family or a Vaishya family, doesn't automatically make me that. I have to still, it's based on our qualities and our activities. That's what makes us that is what makes an individual a brahmana. It is not you may be born in a like we are all born in a Brahmin family, But what makes me as an individual a Brahmana is when I start looking for wisdom, I start looking for what is the higher purpose, trying to understand the scriptures, trying to understand each other as as beings, not human beings, each other as beings, trying to understand the commonality among all of us. That is what rises me above what I am at the present. Hopefully that makes sense to all of you. And we have.
It really does, Sonia. This is, I really like your slide, the presentation. We do have a little bit of every one of these things, right?
Mhm, mhm,
Someday we are providing more guidance. Other days we are probably giving someone courage that's going
mhm,
through hard times. Someday we are trying to sustain a trade.
mhm,
And but most of the time we are Shudras. We are
mhm,
serving and supporting.
mhm,
So
mhm. Yep.
yeah. Yeah, that really does make sense.
Yeah, I like this slide too.
Yeah. And I really wish we didn't have to go to medical school, right? Become an automatic doctor because your mother is a
Exactly.
doctor.
Exactly. I would love that. If I was born, my parents are doctors, I'm an automatic doctor.
Yeah. But
But
yeah,
I have,
how easily we call ourselves Brahmins,
right,
But
exactly.
yeah, not that we earned that wisdom, but we are we
We
Brahmins.
may have the qualities of it. We
But
may
Right.
have the qualities.
originally we had that lineage, so
Mm-hmm,
that's why we
Mm-hmm.
have to change our outlook.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, the Brahmana or the gurus'
mm-hmm.
children were tutored to be gurus. So we belong to
Yeah.
Right.
that. We have our gotras, right? So that way, if you look at it in a deep sense. And
Right.
originally, we were taught the trade, like doctors. Now also, we try to make our children into doctors. So we want them to remain as Brahminical as or whatever
Yeah,
Kshatriya
yeah,
wants to
yeah.
train his
Yeah,
child.
as close to our whatever profession we are comfortable
Yes,
with,
yes.
I guess.
So
Yeah.
there is a concept to it. I mean, which has
Right. Right.
now we
But
it's
when
blurred.
did we start meandering away from that tradition, Sonia? Or did it happen many, many centuries ago, would you say, or
It
more
happened
during British
centuries ago, I think,
times?
again, British times, because they are the ones
Mm-hmm.
that brought money into the mix and jobs into the mix. And, um, there are some people even now in Jagannath Puri temple
Mm-hmm.
where, and maybe some other temples, big temples as well, where they have continued to the lineage of whatever their forefathers were doing. If they were making,
Mm-hmm.
like a certain kind of prasad, that is what they continue to. That is what they continue to do even now, or
Now.
a
Mm.
particular service that they were performing in the temple,
Mm.
they
Mm-hmm.
continue that today, or even the puja that they may have been doing, they continue that today. Like Sangeeta was talking about, it's more than just um, how how can I make money, or how can I live a comfortable life, because yeah, we all want to be comfortable in this in this life, but uh, uh,
But if we were only thinking prosperity, then we would all be Vaishyas, right?
yeah, we would all be
It
Vaishyas,
would be
yes.
trade and
Hmm.
prosperity. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
It's
yeah.
Brahmanas were
actually
supposed to be poor. Remember,
Yeah, we
all
would
our
all have to
stories
be
started with
very
poor.
poor.
All our stories started with there was a
A
poor
poor bar.
Brahmana
Yes,
A
the
poor.
poor. That's so right, Sangeeta.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
actually actually it came with it. It was destroyed like before even Mughals and all Muslim invaded India. That's when it actually they destroyed our
Deteriorated. Yeah.
they
I
destroyed our all
Yeah.
books and
Mhm.
our
Yeah.
uh,
Right.
literature and burnt all the universities
Right.
and
Mm.
all that.
Yeah.
It was long time before that. It was
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
three
Yeah.
hundred before
Oh
then.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, you're very true. They started that, and I think that's where this lineage that Sangeeta talked about, that transferring from guru to shishya to shishya,
Mm. Mm.
by learning things by heart, and then
Yeah.
you know, Ved Vyas realized that it's not going to work. We are not
Mm.
going to remember any of these things. It has to be in books also. So that's how it got transferred into books. It doesn't mean that there was nothing, like Bhagavad Gita was spoken 5,000 years ago. Doesn't mean it started 5,000 years ago. It means that the lessons were transferred verbally and through teachings in gurukuls, generation after generation after generation, because Krishna talks about, Bhagavan talks about how he spoke to the sun god, and it completely throws off Arjuna. He says, Arjuna says, you're as old as I am. How can you be talking to sun god? And he says, I remember all my births. You don't remember your births. So it has been like it has been an ongoing Sanatana, that's the
Yeah.
eternal part of it. It has been just ongoing.
Yeah.
And Sanatana, because you said Surya, I'm sorry we are
Yeah.
diverting, but Surya Bhagavan was the original Sanatana Dharma. We used to worship the sun god because sun is always there.
Yeah.
When Krishna says, I bow to, because Surya Narayana. So when
Yeah.
he says the Surya was the original, I mean, very shortly, if I have to put the idea that we all pray to the Surya, and Gayatri Mantra starts with Surya Bhagavan, giving argha to the Surya. So then everything evolves, right? Even the dharma is evolved. Sanatana Dharma's thoughts, viewpoints are evolved. So
Yeah, I also believe that, Hinduism overall is a very modern religion because the
yeah.
context of those universal principles can be applied to our modern current AI world. It is not archaic, it doesn't sit back, but I do believe that the Varnas were essentially a
Transit.
structure of society of that time.
Yeah,
And
that's
if you
true.
were born in that family, then the value systems of that family,
Yeah.
the codes of behavior get transmitted. And right or wrong, that's how it was.
And yeah,
Then it became glorified when the British came, when the
Yeah.
Germans started analyzing the larger pieces of Hinduism, and became glorified, and everybody talks differently about the Varna system. But originally, I think it's just like what we have in industry, a CEO, a finance director, but none of their kids become the same, even though they grow
Yeah.
up in those environments. Same
Yeah.
difference here. But in the society of old, I do believe it held the codes of some of the behaviors
Codes of
which each of
conduct.
the Varna system helped us to build. So going back to the earlier comment on us as Brahmins, and if you look at the kind of foods we prepare, and if you look at a colleague or a friend who is from a different community of India, their systems are very different, and you recognize that Kshatriya behavior is very different. The Punjabis and the larger friend circle that I have, they behave, and
Yeah.
their code of ethics is, norms at home are very, very different than mine is.
Yeah.
So I do believe it does transmit, but being in the modern world, we don't stick to the rigidity of what it was of the past. So I do think,
And
going back to your comment, Sangeeta, that we're very modern, we change and evolve.
yeah, and also
yeah.
this
I also
Brahmana,
I
Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, I think I don't know about it, but I think Sonia can explain. I think it came by the Manuvadi, na? When Manu came in, he created these Varnas, right?
No,
Or is it
actually,
there?
Krishna says, I created them.
Is it in Krishna? Okay,
I
okay.
I feel like this whole structure, I have a slightly different take. Yeah, it I don't think it was meant to be a hierarchy ever. I think it was meant for, like we just spoke, Sonia, you said about purpose being a very important part of life, and that's the ultimate goal. uh, I think built into each of these is a certain purpose. So Brahmana's purpose was probably to, you know, wisdom, knowledge, and that purpose sort of. So if I was born a Brahmin, I already have a purpose in life. I don't have to go around looking, oh, what's my purpose in life? I think that was also probably why this whole lineage came into place. And later on, when the British came and when it got more westernized, and the whole divide and rule thing, and then they said, oh, okay, now it's hierarchical. Brahmins are the ones who are the elite, and Shudras are the ones who do the lowly kind of a
Yeah.
job. But in those days, I think there was probably a lot more dignity of labor, and so Brahmanas didn't mind being poor, but because their purpose of life was to read the scriptures and educate others on the scriptures, that was my purpose. So I'm happy I don't have to, compare myself to
And
a Vaishya who's probably materially more rich.
another
And yeah,
point
a Vaishya
was
doesn't have to compare. So that's my take on it. I don't know if
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm right or wrong.
And there was another point I just wanted to say when we were discussing with one of my friends. She was surprised that Krishna is not a Brahmana. and Rama is not a Brahmana. I said, yes, gods were not Brahmanas, or the way you people behave, because Krishna was a Yadava Kula.
He was a
He was power.
Kshatriya. He was a
Kshatriya.
Kshatriya, yeah.
Rama was a Kshatriya.
Yeah.
Eklo ek Brahmana shila. I think the second avatar or third avatar. Sorry about that, but yeah, Bali, na? Bali was the only one who was the Brahmana. Rest of them were not
Yeah,
Brahmana.
Vamana.
Vamana avatar.
Vaman,
Yeah, Vamana
yeah,
avatar was the
Vaman,
only
the
one
one
who was.
yes. Yeah, very true, very true. Yes. And yeah, I'm glad you liked this. I'm glad you can relate with what I was talking about. And then the 4 ashramas that we've all heard of, which is brahmacharya, grihastha ashram, vanaprastha ashram, and sannyas. These again, the way I was looking at it was, okay, so 0 to 25 is brahmacharya, where you are learning things, and if based on the, again, based on your varna that you were, that's how you were practicing. If you were a kshatriya, that's what you were practicing for. If you are a brahmana, that's what you were practicing for. Grahastha is when you get married, you have a family, you raise a family. It teaches you about responsibility. It teaches you about doing something for someone besides yourself. And then vanaprastha is when you start becoming more aware of your that you are more than the body, more than the material world. And then sannyas, which is the final liberation, renouncing everything. And grihastha is 25 to 50, vanaprastha is 50 to 75. And I was thinking, yeah, probably that's why around the age of 40, 45 is when we have, many people have midlife crisis, is because internally something is changing within us, but we are not ready to let go of our younger age, our excitement and things like that, which is why people have midlife crisis and they buy, expensive things, or they do some things or whatever it is, because our physiology was meant to gradually change as the process, and so we evolve. But when we start um kind of buckling down and saying, no, I want to stay as a grihastha for the rest of my life, or I want to stay as a brahmacharya for the rest of my life, or whatever it is, then you're not progressing for the ultimate realization, where you understand that it is beyond everything that you have experienced in your over your lifetime. You are above all of that. These are just like junctions on a train stop, train going by, junctions, stations. So varnas define how we serve, and ashram guides how we grow, and together they lead us to self-realization, or moksha, union with the divine. So let's see what else. What's the next one I have? Oh yeah. So yoga. I mean, we all have heard, yoga. What is yoga? Yuj is uniting. It's union or uniting. In Bhagavad Gita again, it talks about 3 kinds of yogas: karma yoga, which is the selfless action, which is beyond being unselfish, selfless action. And then it talks about jnana yoga, which is the path of knowledge. And then the third one is bhakti yoga, which is the path of love and surrender. So the entire 18 chapters is broken up into, the first 6 are karma yoga, the second 6 are jnana yoga, and the third 6 are bhakti yoga. And he talks elaborately about each of these yogas, and probably a little bit about Raj Yoga and other things too. But yeah, these are the main 3 divisions. So when we think about yoga, or when we think about even meditation, actually is not what the Western, and we know that it's not what the Western packages yoga and meditation as. It is being one with their higher power. It's that's why when we do yoga, it's not about, like how many Surya Namaskars can we do, but rather, like are you situated in that one that you're doing, the the pose that you're doing? Are you situated? Are you balanced in that pose versus, like how many can I do when we do yoga? It's a very different way of thinking. Um, and then why are there so many gods? The way that was one thing that always I had a question about. It's like, okay, we have so many gods. Why do we have so many gods? And when I used to hear about Vishnu Sahasranam and Shiva and all that, um, it used to confuse me. But the way I started looking at it is just like I think Meena was talking about. In a company, their organization, there's a CEO, there's VPs, there is MDs, there's senior VPs, there's CIOs. Each of them have a role. There is one CEO, and then there's other different roles, and it just goes on and on and on. So it's kind of like that. And in chapter 7, Bhagwan says that, endowed with faith, when a devotee worships to a particular celestial god to obtain an object of desire, I alone arrange for these benefits. So it's like when you turn on a tap, the water comes, but the tap doesn't have the water. The water comes from somewhere else. So we don't know where the water comes from. Similarly, we don't know where we pray to God, and we should, whoever is your Ishta Devta, or whoever it is that you are, you believe, you should definitely respect. You should pray to that. It doesn't mean that don't pray to any of them, just pray to me. That's not what he's saying. He's saying based on what your needs are. If you want to grow materially, you are praying to one of the gods. I'm the one that provides those benefits. So it means that whatever you're praying to also goes to him, and then he delivers that through that particular celestial god. Just like the tap provides the water, but the tap does not contain the water. So this was the easiest way that I could understand, like why we have so many gods. There is one divine. We have different names for that divine, but there are many, many gods. It depends on what is your need, what are you wanting, and you pray to that, and that's what you receive. Hopefully that makes sense. Next is, we'll just quickly go through these. Practicing and, like what are their meanings. So we do something called Sharan Sparsh. We touch our elders' feet. It is to honor age, honor their age, but also their experience and their wisdom. It's not about submission. It's about acknowledging their guidance and the knowledge that the elders have accumulated over a lifetime. By bending physically, what we are basically doing is we are lowering our ego and expressing our humility and gratitude. Many times I see when, especially in movies and movie stars, when somebody tries to, they'll just do that thing as if they're pretending to, and then somebody else will say, no, give me a hug. And when I started thinking of it in that way, I felt a little bit, you're disrespecting the person, you're disrespecting the culture, you're disrespecting the practice, because here is your opportunity to lower your ego and express your gratitude to this person, and you're not giving this person that opportunity to do that. You instead want to give him a hug and say he's my equal. So when somebody touches your feet, just think of it as their way of expressing and appreciating what you have provided for them. Diya, it's light removes darkness. It symbolizes knowledge, awareness, and ignorance, removal of ignorance. We all know that because of Diwali. And yoga, like I mentioned before, it is it means union. It's not just a physical exercise, but it's a union of body, mind, and the soul with the divine. So these were some things that I felt that I know we all have noticed it, and I thought I should bring this up over here. And now we can talk about suffering. so, so suffering is, how are we doing on time? Okay, we have a few minutes. Okay, we're doing good. I'm almost done. So suffering, interestingly, I mean, I hope you are a little bit amazed at the information that our scriptures provide us and how we can live a balanced life and how we can honestly be who we are meant to be, rather than who somebody else wants to mold us into what they think is good for us. So the nature of suffering, there are three words, adi bhautik, adi daivik, and adhyatmik. So adi bhautik is things that happen, because of people, because of animals, the physical world around us. Adi daivik are the unseen forces, nature or fate. Adhyatmic is the one that is our inner world, our mind. It's things that we do to ourselves when we are putting ourselves down, or we are, like not respecting what we want versus what somebody wants us to do, like I said. So we can't control Adi Bhautik. We can't control other people around us. We can't control the physical world. We can't control the nature, or even fate. We don't know when that's going to hit us. What we can control is ourselves, our inner selves. That's the only thing that we can control, is the adhyatmic. Um, so that is something also that Bhagavad Gita talks about, where you know contact. I think I mentioned about desire and all that stuff. So adhyatmic is uh, the suffering caused by all of that. And the only way to understand it is by knowing that we can lift ourselves by ourselves, which I think the next one, um, oh yeah, I have that. Yeah. So you lift yourself by your mind. Your mind is your friend, or your mind can be your enemy. So make it your friend. Don't let it put you down. Don't let it degrade you, but always use mind as a tool to keep moving higher. And then there was one more. Yeah, the core principles of life, where everything is connected. Karma, there's actions have consequences. Everything in the universe is actually connected, and the rebirth, um, whether we believe it or not, whether it happens, nobody, I mean, there are people who have come back and have remembered some of their past and all that stuff, but life is a continuous journey. And all I feel like I can do is, if I'm going to be reborn, I want to be a better version of myself in my next life. And that is my goal, is to be to take something from this life which I can um, catapult and grow into in my next life. Because one thing Krishna says is that anything you do towards elevating your soul, you will never lose. You will never, you're never going to lose that. That's why there are some children who are, at a very, very young age, they're already into scriptures and all those things. And then there is people like me who, at the age of 60, suddenly realize, oh, there is something like Bhagavad Gita. So life is a continuous journey from life to life, and it's just like changing clothes, as we all know. So this is these are the core principles of life. And so last thing is, what life is going to bring us challenges. from people, from situations, even from our mind. But the scriptures teach us that peace comes from mastering ourselves, our inner self. That is the only thing that we can control is our mind, our thoughts, um, which which I heard somewhere that our thoughts are like a monkey who has been bitten by bees and is just like running around crazy in our head, and that's what thoughts feel like a lot of times. And even when you're cooking or when you're doing something, have you noticed how many thoughts you have in your head, or maybe is it just me?
It feels like a ADHD mind,
Yes.
going all over.
Good. I'm glad I'm in good company.
I think again that's a universal problem.
Yeah. Yeah. So Sanatana Dharma is not just a belief system, it is a way of life through action, through devotion, and through self realization. So as long as as long as you're doing what you love, you're doing what you need, the world needs, you get paid for it, of course you have to, in this world, and you're good at it. If your work hits all of these circles, then you are in your flow, you are doing your dharma, you are living your purpose, and not veering towards one thing or the other too much.
It's kind of like your ikigai,
Yeah.
Sonia. The Japanese concept of ikigai.
Yes, yes. hmm Yep. So this is the end of my presentation.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for being on this journey with me. And yeah, any last thoughts or any questions? Or you all had some amazing insights, and thank you for chiming in, with your understanding of it.
Yeah, very interesting, Sonia. I learned a lot of different things, and especially the slide that you showed of the different varnas. And I've actually taken a screenshot of that and saved it. It was so unique, and I'd not looked at it from that perspective. And
Yeah.
then I've also realized that so many Western concepts that have come in, like Stephen Covey's three circles of control, influence, and concern, are exactly what you spoke about. The three, I can't pronounce those Sanskrit words, but about,
Adhyatmik, Adhibautik.
yes, exactly, that's what they are. And that, the true sovereignty lies in our circle of, the inner circle of control.
Inner circle. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think that's unfortunately, our scriptures are open to everybody. Everybody reads it, and then they interpret it in their
that's
way
right.
and
Without
explain
giving
it
credit to the
without
source.
giving credit,
Yeah.
and that's a lot of what I have seen, and that's why I always wanted to go back to, okay, where is all this coming from? And
That's
then
right.
you notice that it's there in our books. And again,
Yeah,
when I say our, I don't mean ours as Hindu books, because there is no this everything that I told you today is universal for
that's
everybody. It
right.
is not for one group of people.
Yeah.
Right.
um
Right. Doesn't matter if you're Muslim, Jewish, Christian,
yeah.
Buddhist, we all have
Yeah.
our, yes. Sonia, can you go to that slide that had that Adi Bhautik and Adi Daivik, and wanted to, the nature of the Adhyatmic.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think
You know,
I have an Adhyatmic problem for sure. Most of my suffering is caused
All
by
of us have.
myself. Yeah.
and that's why when we say Shanti, 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 we say it 3 times, right? We say Shanti, Shanti, Shanti three
Oh,
times. That's why
oh,
we say it 3 times.
interesting. Wow.
Mm.
It's for all the three,
Mm-hmm.
being at peace with
Mm-hmm.
all three. Wow.
External forces and unseen forces and internal forces. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
really
think
like
the
that slide,
toughest
Sonia.
ones, yeah, the hardest one to wrestle with is probably the uh, Adi,
Adhyat
Adhyatmic.
Adhyatmic.
which are unforeseen forces, right? Because
Yeah.
there's absolutely
Adhyadevik.
nothing you can do about them. You just have to accept them and
Yeah.
move on. I think that's probably the toughest one to deal with.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I know there's a lot of sayings that, what you can't control. You ask these questions, right? Is it something you can do something about? If you can't do anything about it, then why are you worrying about
Yeah,
it?
the serenity prayer,
Serenity
right?
Yeah.
prayer, Gauri. I was just gonna say it's the serenity prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Um, but yeah, now you'll be able to differentiate. Um, yeah, people to some extent, I think you can, you can close the door on them physically. But yeah, Adhidevik, yeah, you don't know the unforeseen forces that happen, like
Yeah.
throughout the day, or why some things happen to certain people. And then yeah, a lot of it from what happens to somebody else, we have the adhyatmic, like, okay, maybe this will happen to me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hey Purnima, were you wanting to share something?
No, I just wanted to say thank you to Sonia. You know, 1
Mm.
hour of
You're
healing,
welcome.
I guess. We got
You're
different insight.
you're so welcome. Hopefully, I know when Neetaka told me about doing this Sanatan Dharma, I was like, what do I do? This is such a vast topic, and I truly appreciate Gita and Sangeeta for
Sangeeta, yeah, Sangeeta
yes,
and Geeta, thank you as well.
they were my
I
first.
I didn't do anything. I just was
I
listening to
did do.
what Sonia said. That's it.
I got
So,
the advantage of just
so
being with Sonia for extra time.
yeah.
That's it.
Sonia did the whole thing, and she is so
Yeah, it's amazing you
well.
Yeah,
distilled
yeah.
it
So,
so
yeah,
well.
so Sonia, it doesn't matter how vast it is, you still made it into little bite-sized
Correct.
Yeah,
pieces for us
Yeah.
exactly. You
today.
distilled
Wonderful.
it
This
so
Yeah.
is so
beautifully, so
good.
relevant.
I
Yeah.
hope this is part one of a big, long series.
Hey, I love this topic because it helps us truly understand who we are. So yeah, I'm up for it
Yeah, we
Part
should
anytime.
two.
do.
Part
Yeah,
Yeah,
two,
yeah.
yes.
maybe we can kick off next year because this is so calming,
Yeah,
really so
maybe
calming. Yeah.
every
Yes.
month or something.
I don't know about every month, right? Sonia might just she might drop out of the group if we put up that much
Without a
pressure.
presentation, just a talk sort of a
Yeah,
thing.
Yeah,
just
I
to
think
talk is also
No
helpful.
PPT.
There's
yeah,
so
yeah.
much I wouldn't say overlap, but what you talked about, Gauri, and what Sonia talked about, this there are so many similarities,
Oh, there is. Yeah,
It's,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Because Young studied a lot of, in fact, the whole thing about the transcendental experience. A
mm,
lot of his psychology comes from Eastern Sanatan
mm,
and
yeah, yeah,
Taoism and all of that. So only
right.
his language is different. And it's because he was a psychiatrist and a psychologist, he's put a little bit of a scientific angle to it also to help
Right. And he
understand
probably
certain
did some
operationalize it for
research studies and things like that,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
So
he could
he's just
demonstrate.
operationalized a lot of concepts in
Hmm.
his scientific way, I guess.
Okay, okay. Just thank you so much, Sonia. And
I just
we
have a
oh,
point. Sorry,
Anjani.
sorry
Yeah,
to
hi.
interrupt you.
Yes,
Yeah,
hi Anjali.
sorry. I couldn't get my camera on earlier. I was cooking,
Because
but
yeah, we want to know what you are cooking.
oh, many things. I made lots of talasanis, and I used
Oh,
garlic and onion.
Okay.
I
That is
tried to
funny.
cook for the week. No,
Hey,
this was
garlic
very,
is good
very
for you.
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. No, Sonia, very good. Lot of research. I really appreciate your time. Something that personally I have questioned for myself, and I'm not to challenge anything that was presented today. When my kids were in junior high, they came up to me one day, both of them, and said, we don't really believe in God. And that sort of started the debate in my mind about why do I believe some of the things I believe? Is it because of the external forces growing up in Shivaji Park, Bombay? Or so my point is that I personally have had to sit myself down and sort of distill it to the most basic
of things. Like in today's divisive world, right? We live in a divisive world, any corner of the world. So I've really had to say, what is it that I believe in, and how can I apply that in my day to day life? Because again, going back to India, you hear so much blame put on the Muslims and the Christians and the British, and what's happened has happened. But what can I do today, to educate myself, and then if my children want to learn from me, they're adults now. I'm happy to.
Right, right, right.
But it's very interesting. Good,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
good points. And I'm all up for having discussion on a regular basis. I would love
Yeah,
it.
I would love
Me
that. I would
too.
love
Me
that.
too.
I mean, like I
So,
said, even if we,
there are four people here that I can see where we want repeats. Of course, Sonia, Anjani, your nutrition by popular demand. People have been asking for another. Yeah, Gauri,
Oh,
definitely. We want another Sati circle. And then Sangeeta, we want you to do your workshop for us.
Yes,
You
thank
know.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, we just have to arrange that. And Meenu is doing one for us in September. Just
Yeah.
so you all know,
nice,
September
nice.
13th, na hai, Meenu?
I think so. Why?
13th, we have a
Travel.
date.
We're going to
And
talk about
next
travel.
month,
travel. Okay.
wait, travel, okay? It's going to be a
Oh,
super
nice.
interesting topic. Don't wait too long to travel.
But
Yeah,
going back to
and
this point, I
yeah,
think like
yeah.
many people go through Bible studies and things like that. That I know
Right.
friends, and that's one of the ways common,
Mm-hmm.
community-based conversations about belief systems and Isakara. So I think
Right.
Sonia, you got us started really on the right
Right.
note, because to distill such a complex topic of Sanatan Dharma and give us the salient pieces, I think you did excellent.
Yeah,
Correct,
I
absolutely.
think
correct.
it elicited a lot of conversations, like, Anju said,
Hmm.
aspects within her family,
Oh yeah, even I
conversations. So I
had the
think,
same thing,
yeah,
I have the same thing. I think kids that grow up here
Right.
have
Right.
that, and they don't accept something that just because your parents say it, which is
correct,
how it should
Absolutely.
be,
correct,
right?
Right. And
You
even
should
though
know
we
for
took
your
them to
own.
Chinmaya and all that,
correct.
we thought by osmosis they'll learn, but all they do is they question things. When they were
Which is
taught
a good
about
thing.
when they
Yeah.
were taught about reincarnation, they wanted to know why.
Their
Why?
view is
And it's so,
completely different. Yeah.
But
I
why?
it's good so that we also formulate our thoughts and
Yep.
we become a little bit more masterful in the ways we verbalize some of
Why?
our beliefs. So I
Why?
think this kind of
Why?
forum really helps. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you
yeah,
both.
we can
I may say
definitely have more.
something. This
Yeah.
is Gayatri, by the way.
Hi, Gayatri.
I just wanted to say, Nastika is also part of Sanatan Dharma,
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
being atheist. So
Yeah.
that,
Mm.
just because kids don't believe, we can also tell them that's okay. That's also part of our dharma.
Correct.
You are allowed to be a
Yeah.
Nastika. You're allowed to ask questions.
Yeah.
So that
As
that
long
will
as you
help them
follow the
start
code.
You
their
should ask questions. Actually, you should ask
Follow
exactly,
the code.
questions. You should
exactly.
learn to see here in this country, the word discriminate has been used very, very wrongly.
Hmm.
But we need to learn to discriminate what works for us, what doesn't work for us, what we can, what we can put our wrap our mind around and all that. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong in it.
Well said.
um,
Mhm.
we should be, because it's only when we give people the liberty to ask questions and question is when they grow. Otherwise, they will either be stagnant or they'll lose interest and say, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
But
Correct.
when they have interest, they can come up with 100 questions. At some point, that questions will be answered by themselves because they'll have the other 99 questions answered.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
second thing I wanted to say was we have become like because of our Western education, we are more of a evidence-based society. So there is a
Mm.
book if people want to read about Punarjanma or rebirth.
Mhm.
It's called Many Lives, Many Masters by a psychologist called uh,
Brian Weiss.
Brian Wise.
Brian
Yes.
Weiss, yeah.
Yeah. So that is something that, you might want to give to your children. I mean, they probably will say it's all hocus pocus, voodoo, or whatever, science or whatever. But still, that's something that'll get them, like thinking. So I just wanted to bring those two things up.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, rebirth is a whole other topic of that is so interesting. And if there is only one life, why is someone an ant and why is someone a human? um it it just doesn't when you think of it, if you say God is all loving, then why aren't everybody human beings? Why are there any other animals on this earth? Everybody should be one way, but it is not. So yeah, it is it but children, I think, as when they grow from their, they have the brahmacharya and then they have the grihastha, and then slowly they will start realizing it. When they go through this nature of suffering enough, they will realize that, like, okay, what I've believed in so far isn't really the truth. There is something more than I'm missing. What I know is just limited. And that's where, like people like me were started getting interested. Otherwise, I was also quite adamant. I didn't know, why do you have to do all of this stuff? Why is there? I had so many questions, but yeah, slowly started getting my answers.
But thank you, Sonia.
Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you.
Looks like people are getting ready to watch the World Cup.
Oh
I saw
yes,
a message or
yes.
two saying they're dropping off. So.
Yeah, see, don't use this adhyatmic, okay? Don't suffer. Don't bring suffering to yourself because somebody lost.
I'm good, Sonia.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you so
Right.
much.
Thank you.
Messi
Bye-bye.
is still the greatest.
Yes.
Thank you, Sonia.
Bye,
You're
Thanks.
so
everyone.
Bye.
welcome.
Okay,
Thank you.
see
You're
you.
so
Bye.
welcome.
Bye. Next
Bye-bye.
month it's August